go.
favorite.
All right, I'm ready. I've been prepping for this.
Our up for debate poll of the week was best Minnesota Wild tendy in franchise history.
And Jesse, once again, just leaving Dubnyk out, just riling everybody up.
Yeah, he's gone. He's out of here. No, I mean, I think, but for me, it was really, I left out my personal favorite, who was Dwayne Rolson. I understand he went on to bigger, better things at Edmonton, but he was my favorite. I took him off for the good of the poll.
I think you put three good ones out there.
It was really hard. I mean, how do you not, you can't, so then if I put Devin in, and again, this is no slight to Devin, I think what he did here was also tremendous, especially coming from obscurity in Arizona and doing nothing to really transforming his career and taking this team up a level. But then what, do you want me to remove Manny Fernandez? Do you want me to remove Josh Harding? Or do you want me to remove Niklas Backstrom? Alexis probably would not talk to me if I removed Niklas Backstrom.
I would be already putting out a request for a new co-host if that was the case. Yeah.
You already had like the job description lined up. Like, she's gone.
I'm on Indeed.com, just ready to launch it. Just let me know when.
I mean, yeah. So we know Niklas Backstrom is your selection, right? Best tender.
With good reason. All right.
Hear it. Let's hear it.
Okay. So I know there is like a niche of people in Minnesota who believe that Josh Harding was the best goaltender the Wild have ever seen. And I have so many questions for those people, and we don't have enough time to get into what is wrong with those people. But what I'm not trying to say that Josh Harding was a bad goaltender by any means. He's definitely up there as one of the better goaltenders who've played a significant amount of games for the Minnesota Wild. Putting aside my bias, because when I was growing up, Backstrom was my favorite. I absolutely loved him for the entire time he was in Minnesota. When he left, I was devastated. And Josh Harding was his backup. So I always felt a little bit of bitterness towards Josh Harding because I just wanted to see Backstrom play and succeed all the time. So when Harding went in, I was just mad that I didn't get to watch Backstrom. So I had a little bit of bias towards him growing up to begin with. Now looking at it in a clear picture, I understand he's a very talented goaltender. But I still think you look at the numbers, and granted, Josh Harding has some slightly better numbers in save percentage and goals against. Not by much, but he also played a significantly fewer amount of games than Niklas Backstrom. Backstrom has played the most games for the Minnesota Wild, 409. Devin Dubnyk just behind him with 328. Josh Harding only played 151 games. So you have to take that into consideration when you look at his numbers.
I
was ready. This is my time to shine. So I would say Niklas Backstrom, given the amount of games he played, was the best netminder that the Minnesota Wild have seen. And I just want to give a couple little side notes to that. I'm not going to ramble for too long because I want to hear Jesse's opinion as well. Yes. But someone made a really good point in the comments on the tweet that Niklas Backstrom, when he was our main netminder, we had great defense and terrible offense. So the Wild were losing games, very low-scoring games. They were losing one-goal games because our offense was not providing. So Backstrom kind of got the short end of the stick on some of those statistics because he was playing very well but wasn't getting help from his offense. So the other thing that I would say is when Devin Dubnyk came to the Minnesota Wild, he had a stretch of like 3 years where he was in the top goaltender stats over the whole league, like top three for like goals against average, save percentage, and I think wins. Yeah. So he had a tremendous start with the Minnesota Wild, and obviously we saw what happened in the last few years. He wasn't the same Devin Dubnyk that we knew when he came in, but he really kind of lit a fire under the Wild for the first few seasons he was with us. So I would say Niklas Backstrom is at the top. And I would say a close second would be either Manny or Devin Dubnyk. Josh Harding is up there, but he's definitely not in the top 2 or 3, in my opinion. I rest my case.
I'm in the Josh Harding camp, so that's really good to know.
Jesse!
No, like I said, truly, my favorite goaltender was Dwayne Rolson. I remember him. He was only here, like I said, 4 seasons, but he had a .919 save percentage. He is a great goalie. He was a lot of fun to watch. Again, he backed up Manny Fernandez, who also—
Him and Manny were a great tandem.
They were a great tandem. Yep. Like, you could trust either one of them in that net, and it was so much fun to watch. And again, those are some exhilarating times with the Wild and watching them do that. And again, Manny gets the higher accolades because he was the official starter. But I think Dwayne was really, really great. And we saw what he could do then in Edmonton, right? Everyone was so mad when you watch him go up there and you're like, Rolly, like what could have been here? Yeah. Unfortunately, he never got the shot. So technically, that's my number 1 selection. Again, I removed him. Yes, I love Dubnyk. Again, he's the one goalie I've had the opportunity to cover. So personality and personal friendships aside, if you will. I like Josh Harding, though. I really enjoyed watching him play. I think he struggled obviously with injuries and then the diagnosis of MS. And I think to watch him go through those hurdles, I like the story, right? Like I love watching a good goaltender. So, but even put some of those stats aside, I love the story of him and everything that he's become and how he still is out there advocating for this. And again, he didn't have bad. He was here for 8 seasons.
Yeah.
You know, was here for such a long, long time. He became kind of a staple in Minnesota.
And it's hard to shine as a backup goaltender. I mean, you could be a tremendous athlete and a tremendous goalie. And if you're the backup, you're kind of going to be just second fiddle when it comes to looking at those statistics. And I know a lot of people were saying like, well, if Josh Harding would have been able to finish out his career, no MS diagnosis, just say he gets to keep playing. Maybe he gets a starting position at some point.
Yeah.
I understand that people were saying like, well, he would have had obviously more games then and better stats probably, which I agree with that, but it's really hard to play the what if, the maybe game, because it's like you could say that about anybody. You could say that like, what if Niklas Backstrom had a better offense in front of him when he played? Well, maybe his stats would have been 10 times better. So I hate to play the what if game. I know it's easy to kind of go down that rabbit hole, but I will give people credit, making that point that you don't know what would have happened if he would have been able to stay healthy. So
he might not have been that great. I mean, there's always, you got to look at the other side of the coin too, right? So he might not, but I like him. And just again, for the sake of, we can't be the same. We can't both like Niklas Backstrom.
I've got enough love for Niklas Backstrom for all of us. So you guys can, you can pick a different one to argue for.
I say Darcy Kemper. Kemper.
Fred, no.
Darcy.
Are you being serious?
I would have rather you said Ilya Brzgalov personally.
Someone did say that. I don't know if it was a joke.
Molesky did, I think. Yeah. I mean, No,
there was someone else too who said that. Someone just wrote like Brzgalov and that was the comment. And I was like, is this person serious?
Oh, yeah. Matt Hackett. Maybe we should have tossed him in there just for the heck. Yeah. I love it. Jose Theodore. We had some